Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome to our first volunteer open house of this special week of volunteer open houses, right? So we have one every single day this week, and you are at the kickoff event. Um, Typical Zoom setup, please keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking. We're going to have time at the end for discussion. We do want to hear from you what you're interested in, but as we are going through the slides, either keep yourself on mute, or if you do have a question, you can go ahead and put it into the chat, and then I will get to it when we're at the discussion portion. I can't necessarily see the chat as I'm presenting, so just sit tight. Turn on your video if you're comfortable. We are recording this portion of it, the slide portion, but when we get to the discussion part, I am going to turn the recording off so that everyone can kind of speak freely about what brought you here today. If your name in the participants list is not the name that you use to register for this, I would ask that you do change your name so that we know who you are. Or if you want to send me a private message or shoot me an email, something that says that this is who you are and you were here today. The reason we do this is because I send an individual follow-up to every person who attends based on what your interests are, right? So if your name right now is not your name, then I won't know what to email you. So do please let us know who you are, either in the chat or change it in the participants list. And I think with that, we can move forward. All right, a few community agreements. We just ask that everyone engage with kindness. When we're in the discussion portion, do speak from your own experience and then leave space for others. We have quite a number of folks here today, so I do want to make sure everyone has the chance to engage and participate if they want to, right? Okay, so we're going to do introductions of our staff and volunteer leaders. So if you are a staff member with Sierra Club or you're a volunteer leader, I'm asking you either raise your hand or come off mute at this point. We're going to do introductions, and then everyone else, feel free to introduce yourself if you're comfortable in the chat, name, pronouns, location, anything that you want to share. So I'm going to model this. My name is Melissa, she, her pronouns. I'm the senior distributed organizer for Sierra Club Pennsylvania. And I lead our volunteer open houses. And I'm kind of your connection piece moving forward. I'm going to make sure that you find a place in Sierra Club that, is right for you, fits what you're interested in doing. Okay, so I see some of our volunteer leaders have followed instructions and raised their hands. So go ahead, Lisa, and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lone. I'm with the Southeastern PA group, and I am the Pennsylvania chapter treasurer, the PAC Political Action Committee treasurer, and I'm the vice chair of the SPG group. And I live in Chester County.
Thanks for joining us, Lisa. David.
I'm David Calloway. I just led a really nice hike. I'm an outings leader, and just finished my provisional yesterday, and Lisa just finished her provisional a couple of weeks ago. So we're now authorized outings leaders. And if anybody wants to know what a provisional is, we can fill you in on that. It's a really good way to get started. The thing that excites me about Sierra Club outings is that Sierra Club is the only organization I know of that combines activism with outings. You're actively protecting, you're enjoying the nature that we're fighting so hard to protect. You're in it. It gives a whole different sense of what it means to be protecting the environment, to be in it. And oh gosh, I lost my place. Anyway, that's what I do, and I'm chapter and SPG outings co-chair.
Great, thank you for joining us, David. And that's so well put. I might steal that for future open houses, combine the activism with the outings.
I want it to be universal.
That is perfect. That is going to end up on a future slide. Okay, Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Mann. I'm in Rosemont and Delaware County. I volunteer with the Southeastern Pennsylvania group, serving as political chair for the 5-county area. And I'm also active with the Clean Energy for All work that we're doing in this region and throughout the state.
Great, thanks for joining us, Robin. Do we have any other volunteer leaders that I missed before I move on? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start with the basics, folks. Like, who is Sierra Club? Obviously, you know a little bit about us, or you wouldn't be joining us today. But I like to lean into a couple of facts. Sierra Club is the most enduring grassroots environmental organization in the US. We've been around for over 132 years, which, you know, is a lot of, we've got a lot of time behind us. The PA chapter started in the 70s, officially opened its office doors in Harrisburg in 1983. We currently have a little over 26,000 members. But really the key point here is that we are all volunteer led. So these volunteer leaders that you just heard from, they are the core of how this work moves forward. Yes, we do have some staff, myself included, but our executive committees, our boards at the chapter level, at the local group level, are all led by volunteers. So you're starting off at the beginning, but if leadership is something that you're intrigued by, there is a path on this journey for you to a leadership position where you can really shape how the organization functions, whether that's a conservation focus, political, organizational work. We call ourselves grassroots because of this emphasis on volunteer leadership. Our mission statement, which I'm not going to read to you word for word, but I like to include here because it's so action oriented, right? So if you look at the blue italicized portions of the mission statement, they really refine what our focus is. Exploring, enjoying, protecting, practicing and promoting, educating and enlisting. It really points to what David had said earlier that was so succinct, that it's combining our love of the outdoors and being out in nature with our desire to protect it, and to do what we can to, you know, make sure that both the natural environment and the lived experience of people is the best that it can be. And I'm sure that's why you're all here today, is because you're interested in action, right? So I really hope by the end of this presentation, you have some ideas about how you want to act at this point in time, right? Because I know we're in a challenging period in the country. Sierra Club has a set of core values that we infuse into our work. So it's a cute little 1-minute video here. There is audio, so if you don't hear the narration for some reason, just jump off of mute and yell at me. That means that I did something incorrectly, because you should actually hear someone narrating this. So let me go ahead and see if we can get this to work.
At the Sierra Club, we believe in the power of together. Together, we will create a world that honors the harmony between our humanity and our planet. By abolishing the oppressive systems that deny our right to a healthy, joyful, and sustainable future. We will do this by balancing the urgency of our cause with a commitment to care for ourselves and others, and collaborating with like-minded people like you, because together we can make a difference. By centering anti-racism, because racism harms and divides us all, while dismantling the social and economic barriers so we can build communities based on justice. And believing transformation is the ongoing process of working towards equity and justice in ourselves, our actions, and our relationships. Through this journey, we'll transform our Sierra Club community to be part of a powerful movement, a movement to fight for environmental, racial, economic, and gender justice.
All right. Oop. Advancing too far here, sorry. There we go. Okay, so those are our values. But then how do we organize ourselves? So I'm going to look at kind of the structure of Sierra Club because it can be a little bit confusing. There's the National Sierra Club. So you might hear about that in the news. Obviously they're working on conservation issues that are large, that are federal. There's a robust, political and legislative team at the federal level. But then there are also chapters in every state. DC, Puerto Rico, and California has 3 because it's so large. So we're, of course, the PA chapter. Whether you're most interested in national work, Pennsylvania work, you can do both with us. You don't need to choose. We have spaces for working on both within our volunteer teams. And then our state is divided into local groups. You can see the map there. It is not cleanly divided by county. So if you're not sure which local group you're a part of, we can certainly look that up for you to make sure that you are communicating with the right folks. And then within at least the Southeastern PA group, right? So the Philly area group, there are smaller teams based on county. So there's a Delaware County team, there's a Montgomery County team, and then there is a couple of other issue-based teams that we'll talk about. So you have the option of deciding what kind of scope you want for your work. Like, do you really want to work just in your community, in your area? Do you want to work at, the state level where you're influencing things at the state level, or do you really want to work at the national level, right? So you don't have to choose, but you can kind of think through the geographic space that you want to cover as you're volunteering. And then the other piece I also want to talk about is how we define our supporters, our members, our volunteers, because you're going to hear these terms tossed around. And so I kind of want to give you an idea of what they mean. I'm going to start with members, the blue bubble up there. We refer to members as folks who have made a contribution. So they've made a financial contribution. They are Sierra Club members. They have an annual membership where they pay for a lifetime membership. This is not a requirement to volunteer. You do not have to be a dues paying member to get engaged. That's not something that we're checking. There are some roles that will require you to be a member. The outings program for insurance reasons, for example, would require you to be a member, but we can assist with that if that's a financial hardship. But in general, membership is a term we use to refer to folks making financial contributions, but is not a requirement to be a volunteer in most instances. And then we also have volunteer leaders. So you heard from 3 of them here today. Those are the folks that are behind the scenes, or in front of the scenes, as the case is today, making the plans for how Sierra Club operates in Pennsylvania. So they're on the executive committees, or they're leading a team, or they're leading a committee. They're in business meetings, right? So if you're kind of a behind the scenes type person, you may want to move up into a leadership role so that you can kind of guide the work of the chapter. We definitely always need those people who are willing to be volunteer leaders, because we wouldn't exist without the work that those folks do. So we've got our overlapping bubbles here, right? So we do have members who lead. So I'm going to highlight that intersection. And then we also have what I'm just referring to as volunteers who do anything else. So you're writing a letter, you're making a phone call, you're leading an outing, all of the tasks that we are going to go through in the rest of this slide deck. All of those things make you a volunteer. You click through a petition, you count as a volunteer in my mind, right? So you are doing something for the organization. You are using your time. Again, you don't have to be a member, but you can be. And then, of course, we have volunteer leaders who are also doing, activist tasks, or they're also leading outings. But then we have volunteer leaders who really just focus on the planning element, right? So those 2 things can be the same, or they can be separate. And then in the center, we have our unicorn who does all 3 things, right? So today, we're really focused on what it means to be a volunteer, the actions, the tasks you're taking when you're just starting off, when you just want to do a little bit more with Sierra Club. And then off to the side, we have our little staff support ladder, right? So we have a small staff in the Pennsylvania chapter that provides support to our volunteer leaders, to our local groups, to all the volunteer teams. We provide, what do you need to make sure that you are successful as a volunteer? That may be like my role, where I'm making sure that new volunteers find a place with Sierra Club. We've got folks focused on systems. We've got folks behind the scenes staff support. So we are here, but we are by no means who is guiding the ship, so to speak. Those are our volunteer leaders. I want to point out our activities calendar. If you're not sure what to do after today, if you just are like, I need to pause and come back to this next year, the one thing I'm asking you to do is bookmark the activities calendar, because that is like a one-stop shop where you can look ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to go to this next thing. The outings are all on there, so you can see them in green. Just this past weekend, there were 2 outings on Sunday. There's another one coming up on Friday the 29th. Your teal colored events on there are all kind of meetings, or they're the volunteer open houses. Lancaster has a presentation, an educational presentation coming up on Wednesday. In white, we've got our briefing, so that's our legislative update series there. If you bookmark this page, you will always be able to, you're ready to do something, go find an event, register straight through there. That'll get you plugged in. That is a clickable link on the slide deck if you choose to do that. In fact, I'm going to drop the slide deck link back into the chat again for the folks that came a little bit late. All right, so then let's look in more detail at each of the different volunteer opportunities. Take notes as we go along, because I am going to ask you at the end to think about what you're most interested in to start with. And this doesn't need to be just the teams as they're conceptualized on these slides. If there is a skill that you see listed that you're most interested in, but maybe you're not ready to commit to a team, no worries. Just think, you know what, I am interested in letter writing, or I am interested in going on a hike. You can think about the skills, the individual tasks, in addition to the names of the teams themselves. Let's start with our local groups, since they form the heart, really, of the Sierra Club Pennsylvania chapter. So if you want to get out into your community and support Sierra Club's work through education, conservation, through outdoor programming, political endorsements, if you're fired up by the election and you want to get involved in political endorsements in the next year and the years moving forward, that starts within your local group, right? And so really, this is a great place to get started if you are community focused. There's some great photos here of some actions that our local groups have been engaged in. A few of the clickable links on this screen here. So if you wanted to learn more about tabling, doing community event tables, there is a clickable link there to a training that we've already done. If you're ready to get started with your local group, if that's kind of the path that you want to take initially, there is a link there to the local group web pages. There's also a link there to the events calendar, because the local group meetings are mostly up on the events calendar. And then tomorrow night, it is part of our volunteer open house programming, but we're going to have a bonus section of tomorrow night's volunteer open house called the Local Group Showcase, where you're going to get to hear from all 10 local groups about what they're working on or what they anticipate working on in 2025. So if you wanted to check that out, that link is there as well. Tied in really closely to the local groups is the outings program, because most of our outings are taking place in places, so they're taking place within local groups, right? They're planning how their communities are getting outside, exploring and learning. If you wanted to get more involved in the outings program, you're able to actually plan those events, whether it's a community cleanup, a tree planting, it could be a more traditional hike, a bike ride, something on the water. You could plan something for families. We've had toddler story times in parks, or like a plant and wildlife search, tree ID. If you have some ideas about something that could take place outdoors, get involved in the outings program. Just a couple of weeks ago, we just had a nice short walk through a cemetery, right? So you don't need to think about some big camping trip. You can think really, small to your area. So to be an outings leader, there is a training that's involved in that. I, totally suggest attending a local outing first, getting to know your local group. You don't need to jump right into the training if you're not quite sure that this is for you yet. Check out an outing in your area. We are also on Thursday. Once again, I'm sending you off to more programming, but on Thursday, our volunteer open house is going to be followed by our outings program Power Hour, we're calling it. So that's going to be a more detailed look at the outings program and how to become an outings leader. So the link there is there to register for that. And then if you're, just want to learn more, we can connect you with a team leader. David is right here today about the outings program. Okay, so let's say that you're more interested in a particular issue. Maybe you're coming here because you're very passionate about air quality, water quality, going zero waste, clean transportation. We have state level conservation teams that focus on one particular issue. So these folks meet virtually monthly or bi-monthly, and they also have email lists where they share information. So they learn together, they educate others within Sierra Club. They hold a lot of webinars, and they also weigh in to inform the chapter's strategy and opinions on these topics. So there are 10 conservation teams. Many of them have wrapped for the year. So if you're looking at this slide, the teams that still have meetings on the books for the next 2 months, those links are there and the dates. The other teams, if you just sit tight, they will end up on the calendar. Let us know you're interested. We will get you on their email list so that you are up to date. And then there is also a quality of life combined quarterly team meeting. So this is not a separate team. It is water quality, zero waste, food and agriculture, air quality, and public lands, I think is the cohort. They all give their updates together in a quarterly meeting. So you can click into and visit the quality of life meeting as well. That's not a separate team, but it's a quarterly meeting. So yes, if there is an issue you want to focus on the most, keep this list in mind. Perhaps that's where you want to get started. Okay, so next up we have community advocates for clean energy. This is both a geographically focused team as well as a topical team. So specifically, if you look at the map there, it's the greater Philadelphia area. It is Sierra Club in coalition with Climate Reality Project, working together to get clean energy funding from the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law into those communities, right? So if you were located in those areas, you very much want to work on IRA, BIL implementation. And moving forward, we want to make sure we're protecting those funding streams in the new year, in the next 4 years, right? We want to make sure that we're protecting those funding streams. You can join the CASE team. So that's the acronym, CACE. So they have their own website there that you can click through. They also have their own contact form, or again, you'll just let me know at the end that you're interested in connecting with their team leads. If you're interested in doing that IRA BIL implementation, but you are not in the greater Philadelphia region, the rest of that work resides with our chapter advocacy team, or CAT, along with a ton of other kind of activist action-oriented tasks. So this is our rapid response space. We do phone banking, text banking, submitting public comments, writing letters to the editor, collecting petition signatures. We do in-person and virtual lobbying of our lawmakers, both state lawmakers and federal lawmakers. So if you're really in this for advocacy, lobbying, outreach, this is a great space for you to join. This team meets monthly virtually, and then they have a bi-weekly email list that sends action items every couple of weeks that you can click right through and make a difference. Their last team meeting is in December, so the link for that meeting is there. Friday night, our volunteer open house is going to transition into our advocacy and policy party. So we're having a Friday evening party focused on our advocacy work. So you're welcome to also join us that evening as well. And then to get on the CAT email list, to get those newsletters, you would actually connect with me as I am the team leader for CAT. I will try not to oversell that team. I'm a little biased. So, okay. So next up, we have another team that's focused again on a geographic area and an issue. This is our Here for Climate Justice team. So they are specifically in Philadelphia. It stands for Housing Equity, Repair, and Electrification for Climate Justice. They are part of a coalition of community organizations, home repair providers, workforce community development partners, and climate justice groups. So it's a really broad coalition of folks working at the intersections of housing justice and climate justice. Because those two things are intertwined. They do have their own website as well, so you can click through. They have their own sign-up form there. Or again, just let me know you're in Philadelphia, you're interested in working on housing justice and climate justice, and I will connect you with those team leaders. All right, so looking a little bit behind the scenes, if you're someone who is interested in digital tools, if you're a tech person, a computer person, if you're into communications support, our all volunteer digital tools team helps all of those other volunteer teams utilize Sierra Club's tools, right? Because these days we're only as effective as our digital outreach. So this team helps local groups, outings program, the advocacy teams, conservation teams with sending emails, with updating the web pages, creating those calendar events, posting to social media, sometimes developing Google surveys. If you want to use your tech skills, this is a great team to join. They do not have public facing meetings because it is very much behind the scenes. So if you are interested in learning more about the digital tools team, just let us know and I will connect you with their team leaders. And then also behind the scenes is our newsletter team. So hopefully you're all watching for your issue of the Sylvanian that comes out the first Monday of every month. It's the chapter's digital newsletter. The newsletter team is always looking for folks to brainstorm, write, or edit articles. So if you are a writer, this is a great opportunity for you. Or if you want to learn how to publish to the blog, through the email, you can also support it by doing the tech end of that as well. So the newsletter team does also meet once a month, and they have a very structured, organized process. They are exceptionally talented at what they do. So if you are interested in that, we'll connect you with them. Again, not a public-facing meeting because it is so much behind the scenes. The links there. You can click in to see a past issue, the list of blog posts that went into one of the past newsletters. And then there's also a link there to their parameters for writing an article. So you can kind of see what they're looking for in their newsletter articles. And then coming up, we have a special opportunity because it's end of the year. If you are in the general South Central area, if you want to swing by Harrisburg there's 3 dates coming up where you can contribute to the chapter's fundraising appeals. We are most effective when we are handwriting communications with supporters. So fundraising letters that have handwritten messages, thank you cards that are handwritten, that is most effective when we're physically writing those. But then this process also needs people to fold and seal and stamp the letters, right? We're sending out hundreds, if not, I'm not going to guess at how many letters we're sending out here. But someone, we're grassroots, right? We don't have a corporation sending those out. We are physically folding and sending them. So if you want to just come out and have some fun, it's a fun time. It's in our Harrisburg co-working space. You can click through the 3 links there. Will take you to the registration pages so that you can register for any of those dates. You do not need to come for the whole time that's on there. It is flexible. If you come for an hour, 2 hours, if you just want to meet the team, there's going to be be other staff and volunteers there. So it's a really fun way just to, casually get to know some folks. Get out of your house, come to Harrisburg.